Hello, this is Doug at Wood Spun Round again. This is take two. I had promised to show the completion of the goblet, the pine goblet with a thin stem. I've already done one video showing the various types of tailstock support, from no tailstock support, positive tailstock support where I'm pushing in, negative where the live center is up to the piece that you're working on but not pushing in or pulling out. In fact, it's what I've got right now. I'm not doing either one. I've just pulled everything up close here. The other is to pull away. Now, to pull away, you've got to have tape. I showed that already, but I'm going to tape this one. The problem I have, the reason this is take two, I did a silly thing. I got all the way done. I had done all the turning, was doing the sanding, which is out of order, by the way. You don't turn it all and then sand it. You turn some, you sand what you've just turned. You finish what you have just turned. All right, got to pull back. There we go. There we are. Reason being, when you get thin, if you put too much pressure up at the top or toward the top, after you've thinned your stem, you've put pressure up here in your sanding, you could put too much pressure, cause your cup to stop turning while your base is still turning in the lathe. That's exactly what I did. That was my fault. It was not because I had negative pressure. It was because I put pressure on the cup after I had already thinned the stem down. It was not quite to a 1/16 of an inch. I was about 3/32, at least the best I could tell, measuring after the fact. That's not ever the best way to measure, because it had splintered, it twisted and splintered. And so I really couldn't get a good measurement. I've already turned the cup. I've started some detail. You saw that right under the cup before I start my stem. Always like to have some kind of transition, some kind of a detail that gives it some interest, instead of the cup just tapering down from this round cup down to a little stem, going down the length and then opening back up to a foot. That doesn't show a whole lot of interest. Just making sure that's taped securely. It is. All right, so what I want to do, I'm going to mark off just below where I'm at to be my foot, to give me a reminder, a visual reminder, so that I don't go too far. Pulling my tailstock up close, making sure it doesn't hit, and it does, so I have to back it out just a touch. There we go. Now we're in good shape. So we're going to turn this, I'm going to continue on. Here's a bead. This is my final bead. I want to stem. First thing I want to do is mark my foot. And then we'll come back and talk about it just a second more. That's all. Just wanted a little bit of a mark to show me where my foot is going to be. I don't need to belabor this, but I did want to show you some of this, how I turn it. Everything is in a light, everything is a light touch from this point forward. Now, the one thing I have not done yet, I'm still in a neutral state. I need to back my tailstock off. I'm going to pull. I'm locked down. The tailstock itself is locked down. I'm pulling away from the headstock because I'm taped. I think it's pretty secure. I'm just pulling it back, not to the point where I pull my live center out of the tailstock, but just pulling up back enough to put some pressure on it. Now I'm done with that. I'll lock it down, and there it will stay. Now we're going to start right here. I'm going to start thinning it down. I'm going to just go bit by bit. All right. Coming back to my detail gouge just to complete the detail on this bead before I get too thin. There we go. Again, using my detail gouge to get down in this small area right here, this little transition. I'll put just a small line at the base of my bead. There we go. Give myself just a little more space, and then we're going to do some sanding. So I get down to this small diameter that I'm looking for. I do continue to work back toward the headstock. For two reasons. One, that's a good place to pick up my cut. Everything is more secure there. It's stronger there. But it also, I'm going back just a touch further every time. That allows me to take just a little more of that bulk out so that I'm not creating quite as much vibration and confusion. Now I want to start up here and very lightly work back in, getting my stem down to the size I'm looking for. And I'm right there at it. Take a touch more bulk out of here. Riding that bevel down that little curve. Riding my bevel down the stem toward the foot. Allowing the tool to do the job. A little more bulk out. I'll stop there. I'm not turning my lathe off at this point because I don't want to put pressure on this tiny stem when I turn it back on. Let's see. I'm going to go to 150. Normally I would go to 100 or maybe even a little coarser grain than that, grit than that. I'm going to stick with 150 and 240. In fact, I'm going to get my 180 or my 100 out of the way so I don't accidentally grab it. I don't want to. I'm getting a nice smooth cut. I'm sharp. I'm riding the bevel. Okay. Now this area is done. I will not come back to it. There we go. I will not come back from this point up. I will not go back to that except to add finish here just a little later. Being very careful as I move my tool rest. Okay. I'm actually going to start all the way back here, working on the foot just a little more, getting some more of this bulk out. I'll probably do a similar detail to this back here at the foot. Again, allowing the bevel to ride down the wood and let the edge of the blade cut. I'm not scraping, I am cutting. never had the pleasure of sitting under Mark Soleil. He has many videos on YouTube talking about slicing, wood slicing. He does not like the thought of scraping wood. I agree. When we scrape, we cause all kinds of vibration and a bit of an assault on the wood. So the idea is to turn that blade, turn that edge just a little bit, not where it's, you don't want it flat, you want it turned so that you're slicing through. You think of a knife blade going through a, steak. When you cut on the bias of the steak, it cuts so much better. And here we're doing the same thing. I've got that edge turned up on an angle. My flute is pointed about 10:30, somewhere like that. About 45 degrees to the stem. And because of that, I've got these teeny-tiny little curls coming off. You can't hardly see them because they are so small. All right. Again, 150 grit. Notice I don't go back to the ball. I'm starting about halfway down. It's where I stopped a while ago. There's a little bit of movement there. Good chance that's where I release some tensions. And so it's moved just a hair. But because I'm pulling, it cannot vibrate madly. And also I'm not going up into this vibrating section. I'm staying down here where it's very smooth, very still. I didn't go quite as far this time as I did last time. But there we are, 240. Doesn't take much. Nothing like knocking the camera and stand off. So we fix it. I'm so sorry about that. I'm sure I'll have to adjust the view. All right. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Not good, but not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Where am I? Okay. There we are. We're back in line. Sorta, kinda. It's a different angle, but that's okay. All right. Let's get back in here very carefully, very gingerly. I don't want that tool wrist to hit the wood or my chuck. Either one. All right, let's get the detail gouge. While we're here, let me back out just a little. little detail on this foot. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'm just simply, as my tool goes into the wood, I'm turning that tip so that it's slicing the whole way through, making a nice gentle curve. And right in here, right in there, I'm going to make a little beginnings of a change of direction. Make that a curve going into that little groove. There again, I'm turning my, opening my flute as I come from the edge down. I get to my transition point and I begin to turn the other direction. Probably come back to that detail gouge here in a few minutes. But I'm going to pretty quickly reduce that to where it's next to nothing. In fact, we're almost there now. Again, the detail gouge coming fairly straight in, but that allows my bevel to ride, make a smooth transition. That point gets down in there. Let's make this just a little smaller. Coming back into the base. Now I've mirrored, this detail mirrors the detail at the bottom of this bead, just on a larger scale. Thinning the base of that stem down just a touch more. Okay, with that, I'm through turning. Need to sand this last section in the foot. I don't think I ever said. I told you I broke the pine that I started with. And my OG curve is not very OG-like. Let me see what I can do about straightening that out. Shouldn't be a big a deal. Take the bowl gouge. That's better. Back to the detail gouge and come down. I think I'm there. Could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Can't remember when that was. Actually, I can. It doesn't take much to remember. I'm still not real happy with that curve. Okay, 240. Just amazing to me that wood can be turned so thin. In fact, my curve has disappeared both directions. I've got it's not straight, but it's pretty close to straight. All right. Much happier. Much happier with that shape. All right, I'm gonna get this part just ready to come off. I'm not gonna quite take it off because I want to be able to come back. I want to come behind where I was. Going just a little further, then when I come back to the foot, I'm going to undercut just slightly, which means I'm angling back toward the top just a hair. Alternating back and forth. All right, I'm almost as thin as my goblet at this point. I'm gonna take a chance. Actually, let's slow it down first. I'll slow down with the rheostat knob. Slow it down slowly so that I put as little pressure on that stem as possible. We are sanded completely, except for the very bottom. $500, $400, $300. We're in the twos. I'm going to stop there. And what I'm going to do here from this point, in fact, I can go ahead and begin to... There it is. I'm going to grab the end of my live center because I don't want it to twist without the drive turning it. In fact, I'm going to do something else here. This live center has a way of locking down. I'm going to lock it. I get some movement, but not actual turning. There's the end. That's what I was looking for. Well, I had it. This is bothering me. Even this little tiny bit of movement is really bothering me. Ooh, now I've got to hold everything because we are actually loose from the tailstock. See, I was pulled away. Now I'm going to bring it up. I'm not putting pressure, just trying to fill the cup is all I'm doing. This is probably the most tedious part I've done on this one to this point. The next part is going to be completing my part. That's going to be, but I think I'm thin enough where I can use a box cutter to do that. But I wanted to be able to take it off of here and show you. Back that off. Move my tailstock or my tool rest. Lock my spindle. There we go. There is one goblet. And that stem is, it's just a 16th. Just a 16th. This will get, again, I'll part it off, probably use a box cutter just to cut it. I'll sand that bottom underneath very carefully. This will all get a light coating of sanding sealer, and then some spray lacquer, just rattle can lacquer, and it'll go on my shelf. So I hope you've seen something that has helped you. Maybe it's encouraged you to go a little further than what you're used to doing. Until we meet again, this is Doug at Wood Spun Round. Hope you spin them round.